Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Sunday, February 2nd. It feels like it's been 10 months already this year, but hey, February's here. We are one day removed from the Royal Rumble, Kyle, and I have one word for you, and that is yeet.
It's going to be impossible to time that out with you.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
Scored. We're like Michael Cole, he's trying his best. Yes, Jey Uso winning the men's Royal Rumble. That was really good. I think we all wanted, fans of wrestling needed the Rumble. And not that wrestling's bad. Just the world is kind of crazy right now, right? So, and I also had a week, so the Royal Rumble was well timed. I thought it was a fantastic thing, like from start to finish. Like the mid matches, the 2 out of 3 tag team falls, and that's a tough match to put in between the women's Cody and Kevin and the men's Royal Rumble. That was always going to be what it is. I still liked it. I thought it was solid for wrestling. Just crowd disappeared. But otherwise, that's something else. Very much enjoyed the Rumble. Alexa Bliss back. Charlotte Flair winning. Oh, right.
He's so good with the Fiend Forever on the back of the jacket. I was like, oh, my heart.
It's so good. I can't wait to see. I'm intrigued to see what they're doing now with her. And as a whole with WWE, storylines that will culminate in WrestleMania begin tonight. So it's like, which ones are where are they going with what for both men and women? It's exciting. Great Rumble. How did you feel? I know I'm way more hot on WWE I just had my 1-year anniversary. The first 2024 Royal Rumble was my first.
Oh,
that's where I count as my anniversary, right? I watched the Cody match after the fact where he tore his pec. I just saw it on social media. I saw CM Punk return, and I was like, you know what? I'm watching Royal Rumble, and it just happened to be perfect timing. So I think that was like the beginning of me and my year so far. It's the beginning of my weekly watching of WWE. So, anyways, how do you feel about Rumble?
Yeah, it was solid. I enjoyed it for what it was. Rumble is honestly my favorite of their big 4 pay-per-views, just for the unexpectedness of it. I will say Jey winning was not on my short list of even 10 people I thought was going to win it, so that was a surprise. And I'm curious to see what they do with him. I don't think him versus either Gunther or Cody is a main event type match. So I'm kind of worried about how that plays out. Charlotte winning is another discussion that I will have later because I'm very upset. I am the most anti-Charlotte person you have ever seen. And I got to it late. We had other stuff happen yesterday, so I got to the women's match like as the men started. Started way late.
Okay.
And I tweeted as soon as she came out, I was like, oh, this is the most Vince era type move they could do if she wins. And sure as shit, she wins. She's winning at Mania. She'll be champion. Like, it's just the most by the numbers thing they could do. I get why, because it's big name appeal. But God, anybody else, please. But the matches themselves are good. The men's, particularly, with returns and the amount of big names they had sort of back to back, it almost reminded me of last year's Mania ending of just nonstop. Like, here's someone else. Here's someone else. Here's someone else coming in. It was solid.
Yeah, especially the timing of when people entered as well. Women's NXT showed off. I thought like that felt like 3 equal brands showing off with some guests as opposed to like, oh, look, I mean, the men's had like no one from NXT get called up. So that's just, you could see the difference right there. But yeah, I do agree. I think Joe Hendry, I mean, it wasn't even the biggest pop for me. I was like, oh yeah, of course he's here. Like, duh. It's still great. Loved his spots with him and Roman. Oh, that's so good, Crazy. I don't know the history of it, but it is crazy that the TNA World Champion is going up and having spots with like Roman Reigns, right? I think that's a crazy thing happening in that world, in that industry. That partnership is finally hitting to this level. So it's cool. Wrestling's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's the first time, definitely. I think the men's has, the women always has. What was it, 3 years ago? Whenever Mickie James last left, she went to TNA, became champion, and she came in the Rumble with the belt. And that was the first sort of big one. And then Jordan Grace, obviously, last year. But I think this was the first time the men's actually showed up and had representation with it. Obviously, though, got eliminated by the big dog. You can't have their champion looking any better than our future champions, so our best champion.
And that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
He still got some moments to shine. And the crowd knew him. The crowd knew him, so he has made a name for himself just by having a great ass song.
It's good. It was a good time. I'm happy. I'm ready for Mania.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena's farewell tour has officially begun as well. Did not mention that. Or went out.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. Like, yeah, his press conference seemed a little odd. It wasn't just like,
I really liked it.
Time to go elimination. It was, I mean, it was odd as in like, oh, you sound different than the John. But when you said I'm back and I'm going to be in Rumble, you sound different now. So I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with his story on his quest to get the 17th, right? Like he's going to, but when?
Yeah.
I hope it's like on January or December 31st. They make a pay-per-view event just for this moment. Just go in with it, New Year's Eve bash, something like that. Market. That's a good prediction. That's a good.
It got me a little emotional when he came out and he did his usual thing and he told Stu, the cameraman, one last time, like they're absolute besties. I was like, you could tell in his face, like that moment finally hit for him. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be rough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he's good. He's a good actor. I want to see him become Peacemaker though. I would love if that's the second half of this year, is him being a dick. He's pissed he's not winning.
Someone wanted it. It was like, if John Cena doesn't come out in the Rumble in Peacemaker gear, I'll be mildly disappointed. I'm like, you know what? I will be too.
Yeah, that is disappointing. I mean, he never would have, but it would have been great. Iconic. Good. And then he comes out later as John Cena.
Comes out twice. Pulls Mick Foley.
Yep. Mick Foley did that? Man, I gotta go back and watch these.
3 times in one Rumble.
These Rumbles.
One is Mick Foley.
I went back and watched 92. 92 is crazy. I get why people recommend it as one to go back and watch. So I got to go through the Rumbles because I agree. Rumble is one of my favorite. It is my favorite pay-per-view thing. It's just the 2 matches are just so much fun. It's like, oh my, and then it's just like putting all. I've never did this. I didn't have wrestling toys growing up, but I feel it's just like putting all the toys in the thing and saying, now fight. And you're just doing stuff with it. That's all it is. It's just good fun.
Jumble them around and see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. Well, welcome to our wrestling show.
Welcome to the wrestling show. No, this is the Download Queue, your new favorite place for all things gaming, with 2 best friends hanging out, having a good time. Last week, Kyle, we had the big news recap, which we had Fantasy Critic caught us behind. This week, though, is a game catch-up, it feels. You've been playing a ton. I've been playing some because this week hasn't been the best for me. We have a lot to catch up on and talk about. But before we get into that, ad break. No, I need your deep dive. I need your knowledge into the world of Destiny 2 and Star Wars. Because you messaged me when this was happening earlier this week with all caps, I believe. I have some words. I was just, ooh boy.
Man, this has been a long week. It's crazy.
It feels like, so much longer ago.
I was like, what happened with Destiny this week, my guy? I don't know any. Are you playing it? Oh, yes. Yeah, so Destiny announced they have a collab with, they did their deep dive this week into their next season, Heresy, which will be the last one and the last one before the next expansion, Apollo, which we don't know anything about. It's, we would assume it's like final shape level. However, they have said no. So, but what is that going to look like? Anyways, we don't know much. So during this live stream, they also showed the little collab they're doing with Star Wars. They've done a couple. They have Ghostbusters in there. They have Dungeons and Dragons skins in Destiny. I don't, it's expected, right? Star Wars is an amazing get. The skins are great. You have some Death Troopers for the Hunters. The Titan gets the classic white Stormtrooper gear, and then I think the Warlock is more of the red Sith garb. Yeah, there it is on stream.
Protector.
Yeah. They're awesome. I mean, they're Star Wars skins. They look great. It's just, if this doesn't make you worried about Bungie and Destiny, I don't know. Like this one is like, wow, this is a big get, and they're taking any money right now. They need money. they're struggling. They're I don't know. I think the threshold has been crossed in monetization and stuff for me, where I'm like, oh, you broke immersion. I think maybe I got the thoughts are there. I just don't understand what it means. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. You got to monetize your game. I'm not upset about that, but for some reason, I just feel like this tells me more about I'm and again, it's just where Destiny is at. I don't feel confident about where Destiny is going, and if this is the type of stuff, are they leaning on this? And they have been for a while now. Like I said, Ghostbusters, Dungeons and Dragons, now Disney or Star Wars. Are they leaning on this to get through, or is it like, yeah, you know what, we gotta like pump out these cash grabby things to get through, but we're actually like desperate. I worry about the health of Destiny long term. Heresy live stream happened, and this was the biggest news out of it. Some cool changes for sure. You're going to play and you're going to feel a lot stronger as a Guardian. They're kind of, it looks good, but like outside of that, the story reasons, I know gameplay is going to be there for Destiny. The issues isn't the gameplay, it's why am I playing and what I'm doing. You're not going back to the helm back and forth. That's cool, but like, where are we going? So like, I just feel like all these collaborations, all these skins you're getting, it's a way to make money. I get it. But man, I think a lot is riding on Apollo, the codename Apollo. That's their next expansion there. I think it makes me worried, especially with everything that's been going on with Sony and PlayStation, which we'll touch on a little later. It just starts to add up and you start reading between the lines and connecting dots. It's like, oh, I don't think Bungie's in a really good spot if they got Disney, if they're just putting a literal stormtrooper in the game. They already have a skin and suit that you can make look like it, but man, I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
So when you were talking, I pulled up from The Gamer, who posted they had a whole write-up about discussing Destiny 2 surviving 2025. They called out, I don't know if you're aware of this, the first expansion, codename Apollo, you mentioned, launches summer and features a non-linear story with Metroidvania and roguelike elements. Which, to me, for what type of game Destiny 2 is, that sounds like something to just, like a flash in the pan sort of thing. Something to get people back and be like, oh, this is something way entirely different you're not used to. But also sort of we're just throwing anything that sticks sort of thing. Which I guess comes down to the community of how they want to interpret that, or how they actually are receptive to it.
Yeah. There are events and seasons that they have done in the past that 100%, you put that Metroidvania, honestly, you put the Returnal gameplay loop into some of those seasons, there you go. Like, no one is upset about that, especially if you're able to play with like a 3-man fire team and then, I don't know, make it a 6-person activity too. Like, cool. Again, the gameplay isn't the issue. It's just, what is the week-to-week progression? What is the story, especially a non-linear story thing? Like, all right. I think people like the final shape because I personally enjoyed the campaign being A to Z. And now, boom, you're back into Destiny, right? You're back into the live service. But the campaign story was concise. And I think if you allow a studio and game to do that, you can have fun stories, cool moments, different things. And then you can get to the other live servicey things. I think Final Shape did that very well, but their retention wasn't there. So you got to make changes. And yeah, I worry these changes are going to change fully what Destiny is. But hey, we got 10 years of Destiny 2. Can't complain. I'm receptive. Like I said, the gameplay, when you explain it, that gameplay sounds interesting and I can see how it fits within Destiny. I just, it's always how they said it. And yeah, if it's cash grabby or weird feeling or whatnot.
Yeah, it leads into a curious discussion too, I feel, of where we've discussed a lot about where consoles are going and where the platforms are going in the future. But as far as games themselves and what sort of the new hotness is, Battle Royales are obviously still here. Live service, though, is the one that's been either taken a huge hit on Sony's side, or the bigger ones have reached that 10-year mark, have reached the 8-year mark, and are kind of fading to the backside for a lot of people and not keeping up as their dominant force they were. And it's not even just Destiny. I say that as a Sea of Thieves person who I've had a couple discussions with people in the community online that like this year could be it. Like this is the last year to get it finalized, final content they want to ship out. But then you look forward, there's not really anything else new that's coming out take up the mantle for live service stuff. So PlayStation, they scrapped all theirs. Xbox doesn't seem to be wanting to go on that. They have so many studios doing first party or single player stuff, excuse me. But the whole live service initiative almost feels like it's ran its course already, which I'm curious to see what comes up next. If it just leads to more battle royales, if it leads to a second resurgence of a reimagining of what live service titles are and how to make those last longer, or whatever it leads to. It's a weird place to be.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing the end of that trend for sure. And like, if you don't have a player base, you're done. And if you lose that, good luck. Right. So, I mean, you even see something like Fortnite, which is still going, right? But they are adding new modes. They're bringing back their OG content. That tells me numbers aren't looking good in certain demographics. They see that numbers are dropping. Yeah, these young kids are jumping on them. Sure. It's a free to play game that is on everything and that their friends are playing at school. Of course, like it's a young game, but they're not buying stuff. So when you start losing the people that buy because they have other stuff to do, yeah, you have to do different things. So the trend is like evolving and changing. I think you can see that with Fortnite and other live service and Destiny as well. It'll be interesting to see where this goes for sure. Because yeah, I think it's an industry-wide thing. I think it also ties into Xbox's strategy that they're getting ahead of the game like they have in the past tried to do, and it shot themselves in the foot by doing that. But clearly this all kind of ties together with how people are getting their games now, as opposed to how we used to get them. No one's going to GameStop at midnight anymore.
God, I wish.
I mean, people still do. You just don't have to.
It's not the same though. Like I was telling my girlfriend, we talked about this week actually, I think, because we were talking about Switch 2 stuff. And like my little Midwestern town was so cool. I remember going to like the old Call of Duty midnight launches, and they would set up like the display TVs in the garden center for us and like bring us out snacks and drinks and have Xboxes set up with a new game. Like it was hype. Now it's just, oh yeah, it's downloaded beforehand, or you go pick it up at midnight and you still gotta go home and download it anyways for 4 hours. Like it's changed, and it's old people yelling at clouds.
Yeah, it definitely has made communities more separate, and I think that's the biggest loss out of that. I think it's so much better not to have to go out in the cold and wait, or like, there's so many things that are better. Being able to just, oh, sick, I'm in New Zealand and I'm playing early now. Like that's awesome, right? And we're all at once. We get to play a game together if they set it up right? But yeah, I think there is a loss of community with that for sure. I never experienced that. I didn't go to these midnight events or anything like that. I think once I picked up a game at 9 p.m. And it was probably, I think it was Medal of Honor. Yeah, I know.
What a choice.
It was like one of the, first couple months of getting a paycheck, and you're kind of like, I'm buying shit. I can buy games now. It was like the realistic Medal of Honor too, where they were like, it's
Warfighter.
It was something weird.
Yeah.
Either way.
It's the one that got a lot of people to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Last news thing I want to throw in. I don't think I have anything else to add to this because it's something that's been beaten to death, but it's finally happened before we jump into the games. Are you excited to hop into Forza Horizon on PlayStation this summer, Kyle?
No, I already am playing it on Game Pass, and I can also download it to my PC with Game Pass. I'm so happy that PlayStation fans finally have a good Horizon game to play. They can stop forcing this weird ass franchise on me.
You can't race the dinosaur robots, Kyle.
Oh my God, Forza Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, racing mode. Here we go.
Dropping traps behind you.
Jokes, of course. Jokes, of course. I haven't played. I haven't played the Horizon franchise, so I can't say too much stuff. I joke, but yeah, it's expected. People were surprised, of course, but it's expected. It is an old game that is old and not brand new. Put it over there, baby. No one's buying Forza as much on Xbox right now anyways. So yeah, go give them a great racing game. It just begins why it's there, how it's there, what. That's obviously not the conversation. I get that this was going to happen. I think if you were paying attention, Xbox has been telling you, get ready, it's happening.
Literally the week before they announced it, they were telling us through the interviews we talked about last week.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting is what is going to be day and date for new games. That still is not addressed. We know like the developer direct did have certain games, but again, our Xbox titles, like is the Horizon 6, is that going to be day and date PlayStation? I could see not, because it's what I have been saying, just keep your studio game, Xbox game studios under your umbrella. But also, yeah, it's, hey, here's a free game, not free, here's a game, and then a new one you play on Xbox right now, or Game Pass for a deal on the Switch too, or on PC or Xbox, or through a weird browser thing that you're able to play through PlayStation, some weird thing. Sorry, I'm losing my train. I lost the sentence here. Okay. I could see Xbox putting this on PlayStation to help drive people to Game Pass as a whole, and then later for Horizon 6, release it 6 months just like they're doing. Well, Indie is less than 6 months, but do it a little after with what they're doing. So I guess that's like my prediction. I guess that's what I was trying to say and lead the conversation into.
No, it's something to talk about, because like you said, what's gonna be first day, what's gonna be later, which so far they haven't really given us anything directly, like you said, but even just looking at who's doing these, I brought this up to you in our Discord when they announced it, that it's not really directly Playground, they're assisting with it, but they hired on Panic Button to do the port for this to PS5, who's primarily been a port studio. They've done stuff for Jedi Fallen Order, Apex Legends port, doing Eternal on Switch port, Wolfenstein Youngblood Switch port. Like that's mostly what they're for. And if that's how they're going to sort of handle these, by hiring other studios to do the ports and not taking out of direct studio time on their end, it almost leads it to be, yeah, it's going to be a couple months later if that is the case. But as you said with Bethesda, Doom is day one PS5, but they've already previously done that, so they have the back end to do that. They already are aware how to work around that. They've been doing it before. So yeah, I'm curious if that's sort of the route they go, or if they just hire on port studios to purely do that, or just keep contracting it out. But it's one way to look at it and kind of look at of how they may handle it further on. Obviously, some rumors have been, oh, stuff's going to be day and date everywhere, PS5, Switch 2, whatever, but so far we haven't really seen anything to back that up.
Yeah, they're keeping cards to the chest while telling us anything can happen, but they're not telling us what's going to happen. The questions are like, are you doing this? They're like, yeah, we might, and we probably will. But it's like, all right, but specifics. The Doom PlayStation 5, Claire Obscure is on Game Pass, but it's a third-party studio, but they're on other platforms.
Ninja Gaiden.
And then Ninja Gaiden is publishing by Xbox, but it's everywhere, right? It's not. So that doesn't, like, it's a third party. Xbox is just publishing it, right? And that's not the right terms there. But an Xbox Studio Games compulsion is not multi-plat. They're keeping that on one platform. So to me, so far, that's kind of showing me that's the strategy they're going to use going forward, is Xbox Game Studio games will just be on Xbox for the time being. And a year, yeah, maybe it will if it's good enough, or yeah, they'll keep those in their pocket until they want to drop them over, just like they're I mean, obviously they're just starting this initiative, but they're choosing to drop Horizon 5 now. I think this is, look at the PlayStation catalog. That spring window is a great time for a brand new Horizon game, right? Like, I would love Horizon 6 in the spring. That's a great time for that type of game, in my opinion, going in the summer. So yeah, I mean, it's a smart thing to drop it. I think I'm starting to see Xbox's strategy, and I'm on board with it. I do wish they can just tell us straight up what they're going to do so people can stop asking valid questions.
Yeah. And it kind of ties into what we talked about when Shuhei did his interview on Kind of Funny. We talked about how he's like, we're doing the remasters and stuff to help bring in funds for new projects. Hey, this isn't a remaster, but it's doing the exact same thing to bring more money in for Playground for Fable, bring more money in the Turn 10 for the next Forza, whatever that is. Like, it's the same ideal behind it, just different form of output of how they're acquiring that. Yeah, we don't have a definitive date yet. They just said later this year, spring, summer. Forza Horizon 5, 3-year-old game. We'll be hanging out on PlayStation 5. Yeah, personally, I have no interest. No reason to buy into this again. Game Pass. I've played the shit out of Forza Horizon 5. Like, all the Horizons, I absolutely adore. And not being a car guy, super good times.
Oh yeah, they're so good. And like, just imagine getting out of that car and running around on a sword and doing magic. It's gonna be beautiful, Fable.
2025, please.
I hope. What's the next big one? I think it's Gears Ultimate Edition, the gear up for E-Day. That might be a shadow. I don't think it's a shadow drop because they're not going to be at a conference. And it's out now on PlayStation, but I do think a Gears could go over first.
Oh, next big one to go over?
I think it's the next big one.
Yeah, I'm talking
about next.
Timeline-wise, it makes most sense, like you said, for E-Day. It gets PlayStation players in the groove of what Gears is. Gets them in the story, gets them what they need to know. Halo, I think, is too far behind. Obviously, Master Chief Collection has been thrown around, but that's different.
Yeah, MCC is so different than Infinite.
Yeah, I don't think Halo, especially with their rebranding last year, kind of starting from the ground up, I don't think they're in a place to immediately push something like that out right away. But
you got to let Master Chief's body decompose. The cheeks have got to be decomposing before you talk about your next game. He's too fresh in the background. Good old Pablo Schreiber.
I said
Schreiber.
I'd be okay with no Halo for like 3 years at this point. Like, let that go. Bring it back if it is multi-platform. Bring it back. Reboot it if you need to. I don't think them doing what they've been doing, even with the good strides Infinite made with multiplayer, I don't think any of that's gonna drastically change that franchise around and make it hot again.
100%. I think if you're going to do this sequel, this remake in Unreal 5, just do that and you can have that drop at a showcase. You can put that anywhere, dev direct, whatever, or you can build it up as a whole reboot. But just have a plan and be able to execute and not have it feel weird. You know, they got to come out swinging and it be right, if that's not the right word, but they gotta be sure with their shot when they come out with Halo. And yeah, launch title on the next console, maybe, you know, and that's like 2 years, not this fall, it's not next, maybe.
Which this week I've seen a lot of people talking about next gen, and I've been pretty like, I think next year announced with the release, whatever. But a lot of people seem to be pushing it back more towards 2027, 2028. But I honestly feel like Xbox specifically is going to treat their handheld as a next-gen thing. The more they branch out with that, a box, a streaming thing, whatever, I feel like that handheld is going to be considered a next-generation handheld device for them. And give them a marketing push, to use that terminology, give them a media push for that. Like, it was talked about a lot with Xbox Series X and PS5 that, oh, this is the last normal console generation. This is going to be the last one where it's, you're buying this box, you get graphic upgrades, inside's better. Like, things don't change that rapidly anymore for that to be a drastic change. And for them to have that now, yeah, the handheld's a generation. This is a new generational thing. It's not something we could have done before, not something we tried to do before. This is that next step, foot in the door for us and where we're going, while PlayStation's doing Vita 3, Vita 2, VR 3, who knows?
Yeah, it's the new trend. Yeah, I do agree that a handheld is probably a mid-gen thing. I would love for there to be still two options, a high-end and a lower tier. If the handheld could be the lower tier that was like a Switch, it'd be amazing. And like for, obviously price, they probably couldn't get it to be the Series S price, but 300 would be such a steal like the original Switch was, and that'd be great. And still offering that higher tier option, I think would be great. That's kind of what I would love out of them, is a handheld that's a hybrid and then a high-end console. I think we get that, but in different years. I think, yeah, their mid-gen they've been working on a handheld that is going to be able to play Xbox games natively. You'll be able to access your own library and download them to the handheld and play all that natively, and have access to cloud remote play, and have access to Game Pass, and be able to download Steam, offload, and they'll still be able to let you do what you want to it, because they realize how valuable that is. And yeah, if they can make this a cheaper product, people will jump in on it just so I can grab it, turn it on, and I'm playing my Xbox. Like, that's just the dream. It's what Nintendo did, right? So we're right there. I could see they're doing that as the mid-gen, but whatever that next console is, you're still getting one that has to be like a Prime, whatever the rumor was, Xbox Prime.
Yeah,
like that one is your ray traced 4K 60 locked machine. Has to be at this point. I would love for them just to make it a PC where, hey, I'm in Xbox mode, but guess what? If you go in the settings and change that, you can't revert it. You have a button press, you have a PC now, and it's just a Xbox branded PC there you go. Games, if they're letting you buy a game for the console and also you own it on PC, why are they going to make it harder on themselves to make two SKUs? Boom, just merge it into one, and the console just locks you into the type of build you're playing, where the PC, you get to go into the settings and mess with it. Like, Xbox is primed to do something really, really unique, and they could just fumble the ball.
It's not even fumble it, but I feel a lot of that has to do with messaging of it too.
Exactly.
A lot of that's high-end shit that like little Timmy isn't going to understand. Timmy's mom isn't going to understand. I don't understand a lot of it because I'm not a tech guy. Like, I'm a game guy, whatever. But getting that message across and being that so forward of, this is why you need this is why you need to be here, this is the best way to invest in this, like, getting that across is the biggest hurdle, which scares the shit out of me with how they've been the past year for messaging and marketing. Like,
that's exactly what I'm referencing with fumbling. Like, they could totally mess it up, and all of a sudden PlayStation is just like, here, this is how you remote play anywhere. And it's like, how did they do it again? Right? Did you see a side tangent? There's a couple of individuals doing interviews with the guy who came up with that marketing for PlayStation. It was on Gamertag Radio. Yeah, he did. The guy who came up with I was like, that is so funny. Anyways, I lost what we were originally talking about now.
No, to that interview, I'll stay on that for a second. I think it was also the same one. I think it was Gamertag with him, where they were talking about how Xbox's changes are happening and reference sort of, what was it? PlayStation in the streaming world right now, sort of HBO. Xbox is Netflix and Nintendo's Disney. Like, damn, that makes a ton of sense.
I saw someone reply, say, but Netflix isn't putting Stranger Things on YouTube or on Tubi. And I was like, God damn. It's an apt comparison because, I think Netflix's strategy, especially at the beginning, was content, more. Here it is everywhere, anything, browser, phone app, right? Makes sense, right? We said it was a Netflix of gaming when they first talked about Game Pass.
Yeah.
The interesting apt comparison. But yeah, I worry about the messaging. It's how we are not the only people who have complained about Xbox's messaging. They constantly put their foot in their mouth because they are open and wanting to communicate with the community. And that, unfortunately, when you have bad faith people trying just to purposely find negative headlines, like there's nothing good can be talked about sometimes. And it's so unfortunate, but there are valid criticisms of Xbox's marketing. And I mean, they have put their foot in their mouth, even though they've been open about that. But yeah, I think this June showcase, man, they got to knock it out of the park with just telling us and telling consumers and Timmy's mom and grandma, just make it clear that, hey, you buy this thing, you play on this area, you do this thing with Xbox, that's where you want to be, right? They just got to figure that out and hit it. And if they can, I think, yeah, they're in the prime position right now, especially with PlayStation on a weird downswing with their studios. They're right there.
A part of me, I want to see the alternate reality where Xbox didn't go this path and had this strong of a year with exclusives in the year Sony didn't. Like, if at all that would have actually changed or swayed things. This is so interesting. Or what the backside conversations are like. I'm all in on learning about that, but
yeah, I get the exclusive conversation, but I just also don't, because at the end of the day, I still get it. And man, they have to pay $70 for Horizon 5. Cool. Like, there are people,
Suckers.
and I was one of them. I had 3 years banked up of Game Pass. I wasn't paying for Game Pass for 3 years at one point. Yeah, like, yeah, oh darn. Like, I don't know. It's so interesting. That's a separate conversation, though.
it is. Continue on with what we talked about earlier and where this show is going. Another game that we'll be paying $70 for this year, Kyle. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. You have rolled credits. You have beaten this extravagant journey, hung out with not Harrison Ford. I'm ready to hear about it. We talked about this before. I kind of fell off. I don't know if I'll return to Indiana Jones, but you have beaten it, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts. That gets full screen.
Yes, I beat it. Yeah, thank you for full screening me. I can replace my background, and I'm having fun with it. I've been able to do that for a while. I just am now messing with it. Yes, I beat Indiana Jones. I was stuck in one section, and I looked it up in a guide to be like, "What, am I missing something?" I was just being dumb. And I was tired when I was trying to figure it out. Just turn the controller off when you're tired and you get frustrated over a puzzle, because you can't just climb up an area. But I was so close. Yeah, I just put the head down and ended up beating it. I only had like 4 hours left. I was not far at all. I thought it was way farther. But overall, I mean, I said it in our Game of the Year thing very quickly. I was able to identify that this is an Indiana Jones-ass game. They achieved that. And after rolling credits, this is 100% like in the ethos of Indiana Jones as like part of what the character is. It's no longer just Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, right? No, Indiana Jones is a character. What Troy Baker has done with the performance isn't just mimicking Harrison Ford here. It's playing Indiana Jones. He's playing Indiana Jones completely, and there is that difference. I don't even hear it towards the end. I don't hear either. Like at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, that sounds like Harrison. Oh my God, it sounds like, you hear Troy there, and it's like, that's so cool. By the end, I'm just in it. I'm like, here's Indiana Jones, here's Gina. Like the villain is so good. Just the performance wise, the story goes in a place, and then like once it like, oh shit, this is what's going on, it consistently just builds at the right pace until the end. And yeah, no, this is I think it's, the story easily stands up there with the movies. It's better than a number of the movies, arguably. Definitely better than some of the later movies, for sure. It's just a classic Indiana Jones adventure, and that's just story, right? And vibe and ambiance. And then you get to the gameplay. I just had so much fun running around and being goofy with the AI and like jumping and falling down in front of all these Nazis, and then they're all chasing me, and I just run around in circles because the AI is really dumb. And then I hide behind a crate and they all walk past me, and I'm like, that's just goofy fun. And then one stays back, so I push him off the edge, and it's like nice. And it's, to me, I could see the 80s movie in my head, right? Watching this happen. It's just hokey dokey fun, and it's cool. The physics are good too. Like so many things you can just pick up and throw, and the whip. It's just a tremendous experience. It does have some slow spots. The two big open world sections, the Giza one, I think is fine. I think it's almost too big and empty, but it's good, especially earlier on in the game. But the second one, when you get to more the river and dense forest area, that's where the game felt like, all right, we're in another open world segment. Cool. But when you actually just play through it, it's actually not bad. Like, I think visually and like traveling, because you're traveling around in a boat in that section, it really felt like it slowed down a lot. But overall, great game, great experience. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see another.
But yeah, that's been rumored. It's definitely not the end of this series. It's done well. What was it, 4.5 million? I think I saw this week. Not counting.
Yeah, that's what they said. They had players on Game Pass. Yeah,
not counting PlayStation players, obviously coming later this year. Are you with the story? Does it set up good for like a direct sequel, or do you think it's just going to be individual, separate adventures for Indiana Jones? Does it set up directly?
Not anything directly. No, it definitely kind of ends like the movies, where the story they're telling, the thing that's happening, it does conclude, and they do get to an end point for sure, but you can just pick it up at any point with his story. I would love a game between Crystal Skull and after The Last Crusade. I think that would be fascinating. This area of his life that we don't know too much about. They did a tremendous job putting this right where we know this is Indiana Jones through and through, right? This is the era. This is, when you think of it, this is the age, the style, the persona, the attitude of Indy. But hey, you did it. Now let's explore some areas. I do think the DLC will add probably more context to that, probably. But yeah, we'll see. I do hope more people play it. I hope, especially, it does decently enough on PlayStation, because it is. I think it's just a very fun game to play. And growing up around Indiana Jones, I grew up in SoCal. I went to Disneyland so many times and went on that ride so many times. That last section where you're in the river area and it's all dense woods or forests and such, it's just the noises and the boat on the water reminds me so much of the Jungle Cruise boat flying by the river as you're waiting in line to go on Indiana Jones. It's very specific. If you've been to Disneyland, you know. But playing that game, it's like, wow, like you can't tell me the designers didn't go to the ride and like research it and went through it and like took notes about just what Disney has already done to make an Indiana Jones property outside of the movies. Because that last section just invokes that feeling so much. And maybe I'm projecting onto that, but I don't know. Great game. Can't wait to see more. Yeah. I hope it gets some nominations at the Game Awards. It'll be weird, but at least Troy should get one. Just weird as in time, right?
Yeah.
But I think we can at least get a performance or two.
I think if anything, it would be performance. Any other year,
yeah, I think that's actually honestly what it would be.
Yeah, any other year, I could see maybe sneak another one in for graphics or art style or something.
Narrative
direction, yeah. But just with the way this year's packing out, like, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, even to get performance, but yeah, I'm very happy I pushed through and beat it. Such a great game.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really liked the first section. Like the Vatican, we talked about that when it first came out. Like, I really enjoyed what I was doing there. But as you said, when you got to that third area, that hit for me really hard in Giza already. Like, starting that area, I think I probably got a quarter of the way through if I had to guess. It feels bad because you mentioned the bad AI again. The bad AI absolutely beat my ass multiple times. And checkpoints when you're just exploring open world are not very forgiving, and I got stuck in a dig site for longer than I admitted, which put a bad taste in my mouth. But
that makes sense. You just gotta run away.
I want to explore and get the stuff.
I know, but then if they find you, you just run away, and then they like, oh no, where'd he go? And you just walk back. And if you're smart, you just lead them one way, and then you circle around, and then they're all gone.
Sick.
But then you walk back out, they're all there again.
I want to return to it someday. I don't know if I'll ever actually roll credits, but at least give it another college try. If it's just something that wasn't hitting for me at the time. I'm happy. It's you would assume, we mentioned the 4.5 on Xbox, you would assume PS5 pushes it over 10 with how much PlayStation outsells Xbox right now. I would, if it's not over 10 by the time end of the year, I'd be surprised.
It would be on marketing and what else is going on PlayStation. But yeah,
not much.
I mean, as of now, they could announce a show this week and then they have some random ass game. It's like, oh, people are buying that. But yeah, I hope this does sell well because I want them to keep investing in this. And we're done with Wolfenstein. We're about to be able to see that outside our windows.
If you want to fight some Nazis, so
we don't need to play it in a game anymore. I don't want to see this alt America history in a game.
God.
Anyways,
to give you a break, I'll jump into mine this week that I've been doing, because I've been checking out the open beta for 33 Immortals, which this is the second one they've done. First one was closed to Xbox insiders. This is now running, I think, till the 7th of February. So if you're watching this live, watch it on YouTube after you still have time to hop in on Epic Game Store. They'll obviously have more later on. But this is the next game.
There also is in the Xbox Insider, if you have that app and you opt in, you can get in it as well. That's how I'm a part of it. I went through the Xbox Insider app.
Ooh, see, I'm just doing PC. Did not know.
Yeah, multiple places.
But yeah, 33 Immortals. You may remember this from Xbox Showcase. Was it last year? I think it was last year, if not 2 years ago. This is the second game from Thunder Lotus, who previously worked on Spiritfarer, which was city management on a boat, essentially helping forest creatures accept death and pass over in the afterlife. Very emotional, very cozy, very casual. They're back with this, which is an absolute bullet hell of a game that I have some thoughts on. You are taking the role of a lost soul, essentially going out to face God directly, who is turned evil or doing what he does, depending how you look at it, and is trying to just banish all life on Earth, essentially. So a bunch of banished souls, you go out on runs in one of 3 zones, taking down his generals, getting upgrades, getting weapons and armor and charms, whatever it is, to push on towards fighting God. Very basic baseline story. You're not getting a whole lot of lore deep dives. You're not getting a lot of extra character dialogue like you would in Hades or something. But where it's mostly putting its focus on is the multiplayer aspect. As expected from 33 Immortals in the title, you are doing these runs with 32 other people. So you have a hub world, you get your gear, go out and adventure, drops you on a map with 32 other people, out fighting mini bosses, trying to become ascended at the end, fight a main boss, rinse and repeat. But with the other players you're on, you can party up in now groups of 4. I believe the last beta was only 3 people in a group. Now you can have 4, which I understand just player base wise, having to get more friends in. But you're able to do co-op attacks. So if you're the archer class, you build up a little gauge in the bottom left. Once that's full, you put sort of 2 sigils down on the ground that other people can stand on to help you activate your ability. So you can't even activate your abilities by yourself. You need teammates to do it. Shoots a volley of arrows in this guy. Each one's got their own different. So it wants you to stay in parties, wants you to stay in groups, wants you to focus on the multiplayer aspect of things, which gets weird because the game doesn't have in-game chat as far as I'm aware. The only way of actually communicating with people is in-game emojis. So trying to talk to people and be like, hey, I want to go down to this upgrade station down here, or hey, there's a chest over here, come help me fight these enemies around it. There's not really any way to do it. which sounds like an oversight, and I hope gets put in later. But again, beta. Right now, currently, there's 4 weapons in the game. I saw something on their site that said there's going to be 14 at launch. But I don't know if that's a weird thing, because there's actually only spots for 8 on the hub world. They're like on pedestals where you pick up which one you want to use. So I'm curious to see what else they add and how much the diversity in groups adds into the overall gameplay. Because just having 4 right now, it's a lot of either sword people who can parry attacks for critical damage, or people with staff that I'm using in this clip here that puts slows on enemies to sort of line people up more. I'm curious to see how much different weapon varieties add into what parties' makeup look like, and how that works without communication, because you spend more time than not trying to pull off an ability in fire, standing in damage, standing in blades, waiting for random people to hopefully come and help you pull this off to win the fight easier. There's just a weird balancing act of the idea they want the game to be and how it actually plays in a real world setting. But it's a solid time. I've been having fun with it so far. They don't have an actual release date out as of yet, but something I'll definitely be keeping my eye on as time goes. Playing more of the beta this week. Fun time.
Really, yeah, it's interesting. I think I played 1 round when the first beta came out, and like, yeah, I was lost. But played 1. But I watched you play it the other day, and it was just visually, it's like, I'm not sure what you're doing right in the game, and that's how I felt the very first time as well. And kind of hearing what you're echoing, it's like, all right, it seems like there's some things to figure out. Sounds like they need to figure out how to encourage and get people to work together naturally, as opposed to relying on, hey, they're partied up outside the game, or relying on in-game chat, which even if they had chat would only work so much, right?
Yep.
Even a ping system would still be better, but it's interesting though. I'm intrigued to see what they're able to do with it. Do you think this is something that, as they continue to update it, like, you're most likely going to keep jumping into, or where are you at on that?
I would like to see updates, at least see what changes. I'm more curious a year from now, or when launch happens, how different the actual game is from where it's at now as far as a mechanic standpoint. With the chat, with how parties are organized, I think is another big thing that needs looked at. Right now, if you finish a run, make it to the final boss, the difficulty doesn't scale at all. So if you make it to a final run with all 30 people, which I've never seen, I've made it once out of my multiple runs so far with, like, I think 12, the boss will still be doing the same amount of damage, still be spawning the same amount of mechanics, still be spawning the same amount of ads around the map as he would spawn with a full group of 30 as a group of 9. Which, it's almost impossible. Like, the group I'm running with, if they have less than 15, we just kind of automatically fail out of it, because you don't really get anything for even trying. But the difficulty curve on it's so drastic that if you're not meeting bare minimum numbers, it's kind of useless, which it's dumb, because I compare it a lot to, like, old World of Warcraft raids, where it was a group of 40 people doing stuff, but it was a lot of communication, and people, I want to focus on this. Oh, I want to go get these bones for upgrades. I'll get this purple essence for group buffs or extra revives or whatever. There's really none of that. So it's just, you're rolling the dice and hoping all 30 people are working towards something that'll help the group overall.
Intriguing.
Yeah. And like you said,
be interesting to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah. And like you said, with as far as not knowing what's going on, I hope they would do the tutorial too, because there's a lot still that I'm, like, asking my friends who are playing, who are more well versed and did the first beta. Because there's a lot of the pickups they don't explain to you. What you're actually doing isn't explained. How do you open this mini boss door isn't explained. Oh, you want to get this increase on empathy skill? It doesn't tell you what empathy is unless you go in the in-game glossary and kill yourself in the middle of a run. Like, it's got a lot to add in to get it towards that final product, and how much they rework it, like I said. But it's fun. It's solid. 33 Immortals. Ugh. Your end, toss it back to you because you got two more that I'm interested in that I've been seeing a whole lot about this past week. So the second game is finally released, and that's Citizen Sleeper.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I started Citizen Sleeper like a year, two ago when it was around first on Game Pass, and watching Kind of Funny Andy Cortez was talking about it. I hopped in and I was like, whoa, a lot of reading. And then I stopped and I never came back. But this past week, finally went back to it, started a new game, and it finally clicked for me, you know, just sitting down on the computer and just like making my choices. It's kind of like talking about the first one specifically, it's kind of like a graphic novel, I've tried it. What's those games called? Are they? They're not called graphic novel.
No.
Anyway, narrative reading.
X-Space Adventures.
There's like a word. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a lot of reading, and it's all based on using dice to get things done, and those weigh the odds on if the result of you doing that task will be positive, neutral, or negative. It feels like a tabletop game system that I played a couple years ago living with people, where it's just you roll the dice and like things can happen and that's it, right? It's not like D&D where you get 20-sided dice and it's more varied potentially. This is pretty straightforward. You get dice to do stuff. But yeah, coming back to it, like the story, it just clicked, and it wasn't until though I met this dad with his little with his girl Lem and Minnie. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. It wasn't until they met them where like I fully got pulled into the game of Citizen Sleeper, and he was just trying to work so they can get on a starship to go off into the world and be saved, and that became my drive in that game to follow that, and that took me all the way to the end of Citizen Sleeper, and we got off the spaceship. I got them a ticket there, and I helped them, and we're out, and it just became my main drive to get Lem and his not even real kid. He just found her. She was the only survivor. Spoilers. And I was like, are you kidding? He just found her and saved her, and now he's doing everything he needs to do to save her. It just, I mean, hey, I'm also taking care of a almost 18-month-old, so it hit me. You know, I'm taking care of my daughter, and I'm playing with this. I'm like, Lem needs all the help. I, as a sleeper, am putting everything down to help Lem. And yeah, that brought me to the end, and towards the end, I discovered other areas, and I was like, whoa, this game is bigger than I thought. I like focused in on this one thing, and that got me to the end of my playthrough. Love that, right? So I beat that. Can't wait to actually go back to Citizen Sleeper 1 and replay it to do different stuff, because there's clearly different things. It is like a choose your own adventure book in that regard. And yeah, so Citizen Sleeper 1, great time. Play it on Game Pass. Citizen Sleeper 2 is now out on Game Pass as well. And I did hop into that one as well. And already the difference, I'm loving the difference already. You are on a ship, right? As opposed, you were a sleeper, which is a corporate robot where they put a real life person, they put their brain into, and then the robot now gets to go work. So someone just sold their brain so they can go make a copy in a robot, and they do all the hard jobs. But this sleeper that you're playing escaped in the first one, and the company's after to get you. They're coming after you. That's a way to say it. In the second one, it's just like, yeah, you escaped, and that's that. And it's like, nice. Like, it kind of picks up but leaves it completely loose, so you can just put in your old playthrough into it, which is awesome. It's not like a direct sequel. It's not like you're transferring your save or anything. But in the second one, you wake up, you're a sleeper, and you're doing stuff, and you're on a ship, though, and you're recruiting crew to go do contracts to make money, as opposed to just staying on one station. And that simple, like, context change and addition to the gameplay just really kind of fleshes out so far Citizen Sleeper. It adds context, and it puts me as a player in the space of this world as, like, I like interacting with that idea more. being able to not command, but kind of command this ship with crew and decide who's going. And you're using the crew as well in these scenarios to help you. So if they're good at engineering, they're going to help you do engineering stuff, or if they're good at talking or whatnot, the different skills in the game. Adding the crew there definitely adds another layer to it, and I am so excited to keep diving into it. I only played last night for about an hour or two just to get the taste of it, and it's Citizen Sleeper 1, but expanded, and yeah, you're traveling to different systems now. Very, very intrigued with where it's going. Not really into the story fully yet to understand what's going on. They're still planting a bunch of seeds and seeing which one I follow. I love it. It's such a good little role-playing game. Hard to play at night when I'm sleepy. It's hard to just read these giant, especially when you're doing a bunch of tasks and you're like, nice, and then boop, boop, boop. Oh man, all right, here's the lore drop and it's a bunch of text and you're like, all right, I'm going to bed after this one. It's a struggle to read. But hey, if you're not someone who's reading and you don't play games with a lot of reading, go try. Reading is very, very good for you. So, and this is definitely a story, and the writing level is very good. So, love it.
So with that, actually, that's first question. As far as because just watching the videos and trailers I've been running, with how much text there is, how much attention do you actually need to give to this? Is it something, you said you've been playing it at night before bed, but is it something that you can just kind of casually be running through, not paying much attention to, or is it a deep, hey, you're reading paragraphs, you would need to be on top of every little thing happening? Is it how much dedication do you need to give to it each time you're playing through?
Yeah, you have to be able to read and comprehend stuff because there are bursts of paragraphs, right? And that is the story. It's like you're picking, it is like a novel. They're like, you wake up and they're using descriptive language and everything, right? As well as dialogue and such. But it's not like every second is like that. As you see as you're flipping through gameplay, you are interacting and choosing what to do with your dice each day, each cycle. You get 5, and then depending on your in the first one, your body deteriorates. It's probably some type of level in the second one. I haven't got to that part yet, but your body would deteriorate and you would need a supplement to help yourself. But as your body deteriorated, you would lose dice each day. So you would end up not being able to do as much every single day in the first one. But really you're able to do is up to 5 things a day based on the dice. And and some of those things result in them giving you some story beats. Some of them don't. It just you're unloading this transport of scrap, and then as you do that, you see another little circle bar get filled up, and it's like, oh, once that's filled, something will happen. So, does that make sense? Did I explain that?
Yeah,
because I was straight up just reading the whole time, but you haven't got to read. It's not like real-time combat or anything, so you are able to sit and just look at it and wait and think, or put it down and walk away for a second. It's not gonna progress anything while you're away, so it is chiller in that regard.
Yeah, no, that was gonna be my next question. As far as with the dice and stuff of what you're doing as actions, it almost on a top level sounds kind of like a resource management in a way, where you said you have your 5 turns each day to do stuff. What can you do to get either the best outcomes, upgrades, money?
You should pause on this screen.
Pause.
Okay. Yeah, so with your dice, so you see at the top, you have the white dice, which is it's 2, so that's lower one, and then you have the 4 and the 3, which have a yellow bar that fills up the bottom half, and then 5 and 6 sided dice will have the top will have fully yellow. That's telling you what the likelihood of what the reaction is going to be. So the 5 and 6, you're most likely going to get 100% positive reaction to what you're doing. So I play as an engineer, my engineering's high. I go try to dismantle something or go do something, I'm doing that no problem. But it is a resource thing, like you're saying, because that fully 5-sided or 6-sided dice that you roll, and these roll randomly every day you wake up. So it's just you wake up and this is what you're given. So you do have to kind of manage what to do. The ones that are more likely to pass, you could use on things you're not good at. Maybe my character is really bad at, it's one of the skills is called endure. Well, maybe I'm really bad at that, but if I use that yellow one, I know that's going to still help me out because it's a higher sided dice. There are negative things that will lower that number, so that dice actually becomes like a 4 or a 3 in some cases. But yeah, 100%. It is like a resource management thing. It's managing your dice to see, oh, this one has a really negative reaction. I get +2 in engineering, so I know I can actually still use that and get most likely a positive reaction. A lot of it is like 50% positive, 50% neutral, or like if you have a 1 and you're really bad at it, it's like 50% negative, and that usually is just you lose money or lose energy, stuff like that. I haven't thought of it in a resource management way, but 100%, yeah, that's a good way of saying that.
How no, you just said you started the second one. As far as the first one goes though, are these, I can't imagine this is like an 8-10 hour thing, or are these smaller, more confined experiences? Smaller, okay.
Yeah, I would say like 3 to 5, depending on how fast and slow, maybe 5 to 7. And then replayability, because you're making choices, you're choosing things. I would imagine certain pathways end sooner than others, you know? So, but yeah, not a terribly long experience, the first one at least. If you just want to get one playthrough done, not doing everything, obviously going back, yeah. Nice little relaxing reading game.
I'm happy you got into it because it's been something this week that's kind of blown up in a lot of the spaces I've seen. The second one launching, I believe it's on Game Pass. Blew up on Fantasy Critic, really good scores, and just a lot of people talking about it, which I'm happy for. Like, this seems something that a little more niche, obviously. You normally, I think, wouldn't get the type of spotlight it's been getting, but happy to see it succeeding. I'm interested in it. If I jump into it anytime soon, or I want to dedicate the time, but at least check it out because it seems like everyone who has played it, nothing but rave reviews across the board. So, Sin Sleeper. Agree. I think that about does it. I've been playing some other stuff, but nothing worth. I finally continuing on my Dead Rising remake playthrough. Finally, I've fallen back into a World of Warcraft hole last night, Kyle. Not the normal Warcraft route though. I made my first classic hardcore character, which is a whole new thing. They added one life, you could restart if you die. I made the foolish decision. I started that after the Rumble ended last night. Next thing I know, it was 4:30 in the morning, and I feel like crap because of it. But it's fun. It's such a basic thing that a lot of games are doing now, a lot of MMO type games. But just the way you approach how you play, the way you approach minute tasks that otherwise like run and try, if not whatever. But when you're sinking just even my 6-7 hours last night into, like, you rethink kind of a way you're approaching a 20-year-old game at this point. I ended up fighting a quest enemy that I needed, put in chat if anyone else was doing it. One guy immediately hopped in, we partied up, and we spent the next 5 hours playing together, just sticking by each other's side, healing each other. Like, it's regained what WoW has lost, and that's the community. There's people partying up, working together. You go into a capital city, people are selling their enchanting services, people are selling blacksmithing services. Like, it's the nostalgia that I remember from that game that I so desperately wanted to return back to that is just lost in the current retail version. No one talks to each other. No one's in chat doing stuff. You have no reason to party up with people. You have no reason to communicate and build that community at all. But going back to how it was 20 years ago, both figuratively and literally, it's been fun. How much longer I stick with it, we'll see. But that's about it that I've been playing this week. It's been an off week. We said both of us. Kind of weird, but had enough to get through. Have some stuff to look forward to. I just double checked. Next week will be Avowed, finally out and available to the world. Can't wait. We'll be playing.
Okay, but it's Sunday, not this week. Next
not,
week.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Not
this week?
Not this week. Next week. We have that coming. I saw some stuff popping up online today, actually, that we're getting a state of play next week as well. So curious to see what comes of that, if that happens.
You hope so.
I hope the fans hope so I know what the hell they're playing the rest of the year.
Yeah. I got one thing I'll be able to talk about. I got into the Night Rain network test for Elden Ring. So that is, I'm trying to pull up the date it starts. I believe it was, February 14th. That'll be fine. I think they'll send an email to see which period, like which session you're in. We'll see. But I'll be able to talk about that. And also, I'm still working on my flight sim, leveling up. I'm still flying planes. I'm still dropping people out of the planes because they're skydiving. It's a great time. We're working to get the level 20 so I can go firefight in a plane. It's my dream. But if Flight Sim can fix how long it takes to open. I opened the game and it sits at 13% for like 5 to sometimes 20 minutes. And I just leave. And that's why I don't play it as much. Also, City Skylines 2 on PC is broken. I can't play it and I'm really upset. I just want to play my simulation games. Xbox.
You know when they'll fix it, Kyle? When they
come to
PS5, they'll make it. That'll be the best polished up shit you've ever seen in your life.
Well, they canceled the console version for City Skylines 2, so that won't be on PlayStation.
No. Microsoft Flight Simulator will be.
I hope it does, because it's a great time.
Great time. What you got going this week? You got, assuming, new Tangential Wrestling coming out this week. Got anything else?
Yeah, missed last week, but we got Royal Rumble. We got more wrestling stuff there. And that's kind of the stuff.
Fair enough. I should hopefully have either tomorrow or Tuesday on my end an actual impressions video for 33 Immortals that I've been working on. Doing video content so goddamn hard. I've recorded like 2 scripts. I'm just scrapping them. I'm doing it live. Scripts don't work. Sounds fake. I don't like it.
Oh, yeah, you just gotta get better at reading it.
Yeah.
Well, you should just, what you do is record it and then get it transcribed, and then you edit it so it still sounds like you, but then you could fix some stuff. That's one way of doing it.
That's some top level stuff I don't think about. But that should be out next couple days, just to get some thoughts out for it. Maybe continuing the WoW playthrough on stream. Streamed it last night. It was a fun time. We'll see how this week goes. Hopefully better moods all the way around to get more content out for the people. If you like what we are doing here, please drop a like, comment, follow, share it with your friends, whatever it is you do. We record live each and every Sunday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as you're hanging out with us right now. The video after will be uploaded Monday mornings, usually 7 to 8 a.m. on YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the good places to find stuff. You can find us at the stuff up above. Balance Backlogs on Twitter, because it's still Twitter, and Kyle the Do on Twitter and Twitch. So, we'll be back next Sunday. Till next time, happy gaming.
Happy.